Hello, friends. We had started the chapter Nelson Mandela, A Long Walk to Freedom. This is the part 3. Two parts we have already seen. So, in the first part, we had talked about the inaugural day. In the second part, he had talked about the people. He remembered, he recalls their sacrifice for his country. Now, few questions are there which belong to the second part, which we have already finished. The first question is, what do military generals do? How has their attitude changed and why? So if you remember, he had already spoken here, okay, on page number, I think here it is, 19. So what he says that the military people, it is given here on here, okay, I have asked you to underline it. The military people display their loyalty to the democracy, number one. Number two, these people came and salute him, okay. Okay, these people, it is given here. They just bedagged with the black ribbons and model stage one, saluted him and pledged their loyalty to him. Okay, so second part of the question is, how has their attitude changed? Because their attitude has been changed completely. Okay, and if the country hadn't been independent, so they would definitely arrest him. But the time has changed. Now they were saluting him. So this is how their attitude has changed. Okay, so question 2, let us see what is the question 2. Question 2 is, why were two national anthems sung? Okay, in order to display, in order to show the unity among the people, in order to show that the both whites and blacks could live peacefully in a country. How does Mandela describe the system of government in his country in the first decade and in the final decade of the 20th century? So when he talks about it in the first decades, in the final decade of the 20th century, here it is given. So he says that in the first decade of the 20th century, it is given here, an affiliate of Anglo-Boer War before he was born in his country, and this all you can say, you can talk about that the what we have underlined previously. The structure they created, that means the British have actually created the country in a different way. They had made it most harshest and inhuman society in the world. But in the last decade of 20th century, his country is changed now. It has turned off forever and replaced by one that recognizes the rights and freedoms of all people. This is what I have already asked you to underline, highlight it. So this is the answer of this particular question. Okay, if you didn't understand the question, then you ask me. Okay, I'll explain you. Okay, you can just write it in the comment box, or you can WhatsApp me also. What does courage mean to Mandela? This is something very important here, I think on this page only. See, the courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. Okay, he said that the brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. So this is the answer of this particular question. Which does he think is natural to love or to hate? So he says they can be taught to love, for love comes more naturally to human heart than its opposite. So he believes that love is more natural to hate. Okay, and why does he say? Because when he was in jail, he had seen some humanity, okay, some glimmer of humanity in one of the guards. Okay, a glimmer of humanity in one of the guards. Okay, so this is how all the questions are over. Let's continue with the next part. In life, every man has twin obligations. Obligations to his family. Okay, do you understand obligations? What is the meaning of obligation? Obligation means duties. So you have got two types of duties, my dear. Okay. So one duty is towards your nation. Okay. So what are the two types of duties? To his family, to his parents, to his wife and children. So one duty is for them, and he has an obligation to his people, his community, his country. So another duty is towards your nation. So two types of obligations are there. First type of obligation is for your family, and second type of obligation is for your nation. In a civil and human society, each man is able to fulfill those obligations according to his own inclination abilities. So what he says that when society is free, okay, when you are living in an independent country where there is no discrimination, so definitely you can fulfill both type of obligations. Like I am there, I am a teacher, so I am teaching you, I am giving you some knowledge. So ultimately I am fulfilling my duties towards my family, I am fulfilling their needs, so I am completing my obligations towards them, and I am making the future of the country. I'm involved in that process, so I'm fulfilling my duties towards my nation also. So this is how each man is able to fulfill those two obligations. But in a country like South Africa, it was almost impossible. But in a country like South Africa, it was almost impossible for a man of my birth. So he says here, my birth. So what does my birth means? My birth means black. He was black, okay, and color to fulfill both those obligations, and he was not able to fulfill both the obligations, okay, because the country was not free. He could not think for the nation. If he had to think for the nation, he had to leave his family, okay, and he had to join the revolutionaries. So this is why he says that he cannot fulfill both the obligations. Okay, there can be a question. In South Africa, a man of color who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. In South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people was inevitably ripped from his family and his home and was forced to live a life apart, a twilight existence of secrecy and rebellion. Okay, so ultimately, what happens if a person thinks to serve his country, serve his nation? Okay, so definitely he would be caught by the whites, the Britishers, and maybe arrested, maybe sent apart, maybe what to say, separated from the family. Reaped means separated. So reaped means separated. So separated from the family, okay, and left somewhere else. So this is how the people could be actually discriminated, okay, and exploited. I did not in the beginning choose to place my people above my family, but in attempting to serve my people, I found that I was prevented from fulfilling my obligations as a son, a brother, father, and a husband. So what happens actually that initially she was not interested in serving, okay, and later on when he saw that his freedom was taken away. Then he started feeling to serve for his nation, for his people. And when he was serving to his nation, his people, ultimately he could not serve, he could not do anything for his family. Okay, so he's saying here clearly, he's saying that he was prevented from fulfilling his obligations as a family man. Okay, why? Because he was working to serve his people. Got this much? Okay, let's continue to the next paragraph. I was not born with a hunger to be free. I was born free, free in every way that I could know. Free to run in the fields near my mother's hut, free to swim in the free to swim in the clear stream that ran through my village, free to roast maize under the stars and ride the broad backs of slow-moving bulls. As long as I obeyed my father and abided by the customs of my tribe, I was not troubled by the laws of man or God. So ultimately, what he says that in childhood he did not understand, he did not have any idea about the freedom. So whatever he could do, he found it. He felt that this was his freedom, and he was enjoying his freedom. Okay, so he always obeyed his father. Okay, so whatever his father instructed him, he obeyed. So maybe whatever the British rules were there, his father was abiding them, and his father was asking him to abide with them. You know, so this is how he talks about his childhood time, and he says that he was free in his childhood. Actually, he had not understood the meaning of the freedom. Okay, so in the next paragraph, we will talk about actual freedom. Okay, when he grew up, so that time the freedom for meaning for freedom changed for him. Like we start from here. It was only it was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion. Illusion means unreal. When I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me, that I began to hunger for it. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself, the transitory freedoms of being able to stay out at night. Okay, so he calls them transitory. Transitory means not permanent, not permanent. So for in young age, actually for everyone, this is transitory freedom. He considers everyone, every young person can consider the transitory freedom as his permanent freedom, but it's not like that. Read what I pleased and go where I choose. So all these three freedoms he is talking about here, and many more are there, but he is talking about only three freedoms. Later, as a young man in Johannesburg, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potentials, of earning my keep, achieving my potential. That means getting a job according to his potential, of earning his keep. That means whatever he earns, he can keep it. There is nothing to give to Britishers. Okay, of marrying and having a family. So these were the freedoms actually which he wanted, but all his freedoms were obstructed. Okay, they were obstructed by the Britishers. But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. Okay, here brothers and sisters does not mean his real brothers and sisters, people of South Africa actually. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. Okay, so here he says, he makes it clear that everyone who looked like I did, that means all black people, okay, who looked like him, all the black people. That is when I joined the African National Congress, and that is when the hunger for my own freedom became greater hunger for the freedom of my people. Okay, so when he joined the African National Congress, then his what to say mindset was changed. Now he did not want any freedom for himself. He wanted freedom for all his people, all the people of his country, all black people. It was the desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self-respect that animated my life. So what animated his life? Okay, so ultimately his desire, okay, his desire to bring freedom to all the people of his country, okay, bring their self dignity, self respect and dignity to those people. So this was ultimately something that has changed his life, okay, that has animated his life, that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one. There is a question in examination that comes for it, that what transformed a young man into a bold one. Okay, so the desire for the freedom of his own people to live their lives with dignity and self-respect. Okay, this animated his life, and this was something that transformed a young man into a bold one. That drew a law-abiding attorney to become a criminal. So he considers himself a criminal. Actually, he was a law-abiding attorney. Okay, a person who believed in law very much, but ultimately, according to British law, he became a criminal. They turned a family-loving husband into a man without a home. Okay, so he liked to live with his family, but ultimately for his country's freedom, he had to live away from them. Okay, if you remember the 28 years Nelson Mandela had actually struggled. He was behind the bars. Okay, he was in the jail. Okay, and from there only he actually ran his movement that forced a life-loving man to live like a monk. Okay, so he also wanted all the luxuries, all the features of the life. He also wanted to enjoy his life, but ultimately he had to live like a monk only in order to bring freedom for his people. I am no more virtuous. Okay, I am no more virtuous or self-sacrificing than the next man. But I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. So ultimately, what had happened when when he observed that his people, that the people of his country, okay, they were not free. Okay, they were not free. They were uh, not enjoying the freedoms which could be enjoyed by them. So then whatever he could enjoy, whatever he had, okay, these things also he left. He did not enjoy the freedom what he could do. Okay, he left it for the freedom of his people. Okay, understanding or not? Freedom is indivisible. Okay, my chains on any one of my freedom people were the chains on all of them. So what he says that if even one person is not free, then nobody is free. The chains on all my people were the chains on me. And if this is the scenario, then definitely he himself is not free. For him, freedom of his people was more important than his own freedom. I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. This is something very important. Okay, these two lines are very important. Okay, a man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. Okay, so if you are taking away somebody else's freedom, so you are actually you are a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow-mindedness. So somewhere he is not saying that the oppressor is a culprit. He's saying that the oppressor is also forced by the narrow-mindedness. I'm not really free if I am taking away someone else's freedom. Now he reveals his meaning clearly. He says that if somebody has taken away his freedom for the past, okay, and now when he gets a chance, and if he also does the same thing, okay, he also takes away their freedom, then there is no difference in these two types of people. So ultimately, what he believes that all people should be free, even the oppressor should be free. Just as surely as I am not free, it is something I'll underline it. Just as something that just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken away from me, the oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed for their humanity. So according to him, both should be free. Oppressor and oppressed. Both should be free. It should not be like that today I am not free, so tomorrow when I get a chance, I'll not let you be free. Okay, I'll take away your freedom. So this is something. This part is again over. Part 3 is over. Okay. We have the question answer. Let us finish the question answer. First question is, what twin obligation does Mandela mention? So here the twin obligations I have already explained you the twin obligation. One obligation towards the family in the first paragraph only. Okay, the twin obligation towards the family, to parents, and to the nation. Okay, this is the answer of the first question. Second question goes, what did being free mean to Mandela as a boy and as a student? How does he contrast these transitory freedoms with the basic and honorable freedom? So in the childhood, whatever he was allowed to do by his parents, his father, okay, and his mother, he called them freedom. Okay, when he became a student, for himself, whatever he wanted to have for himself, to have earning, to have wife, these were his freedom. But these were the transitory freedom, they were not the permanent freedom, they were a time being freedom. Okay, and when he understood what exactly the freedom means, then he started then he had hunger for the freedom of his own people, freedom for everybody, freedom for a free country. Okay. Does Mandela think the oppressor is free? Why or why not? According to him, the oppressor must also be free as the oppressed. If oppressor is not free, so actually he says that oppressor is not free because he is also uh, the oppressor is actually behind the bars of prejudice and narrow-mindedness. So according to him, both should be free. So this is how the lesson gets over. The chapter is over. Okay, this was the final part of Nelson Mandela. For more question answers, you solve the question answer. Any doubt arises, you can comment, you can ask me, you can ask on my WhatsApp number also. Thank you. Have a nice day ahead.